Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back. You are listening to the Mari Mukunda show on Salam Media, and it is 33 past 12 to 1, 33 to 1. Anyways, joining me on the line right now is the founder of the Halal Goods Market, Fehmida Jordan, also known as Fhemz, here to talk about breaking the stigma of COVID 19. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Fhemz.
Walaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for having me.
Awesome, shukran for joining me. All right, so let's start off by telling us what went through your mind when you discovered that you were tested positive for COVID 19.
Yo, that's an easy one. Complete disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
I think because the weirdest thing was I felt okay, and my temperature, because the thing that gets you is that if you think that the first thing you're going to get is a fever, and when your
Mm,
temperature's been tested the entire week, you're like, but I haven't had a fever, I haven't had anything. In fact, even now, 1 week, well, 10 days almost in, I haven't had a fever, not once that I
mm-hmm.
have COVID. So I think when I saw the test, I knew that I was gonna get like my result that day, but I wasn't checking out for it because I just in my head I just thought, ah, I'm probably negative, even though I had like a congested nose and stuff. I just thought, ah, I'm probably negative because it's probably just the winter dryness. And when I got the SMS, I was just like going, no, I had to. I think I read it like 10 times. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? It was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest thing, and I just thought the first thing was, what do I do now? Like
And
what
what
now?
did you do? Well, what then? What
So
happened after that? Because I mean, those were
I
mild symptoms, and like you mentioned, that you didn't get a fever, and that's what many of us are actually expecting to get. And if we don't get a fever, we won't know if we have the virus or not.
I think that that's it. We actually, because it's winter also, we think that our normal winter symptoms are just, this is just a winter. It's just a winter. I didn't even have a flu, so I can't even say. I had dry nose. That was it. I didn't have a serious cough or anything. So the first thing I thought of was, should I retest? Is this for real? And then the
Mm-hmm.
second one was, okay, now that I know I've got it, I've already been taking immune boosters because we've been doing that since the beginning of the virus. What do I do
Mm-hmm.
now? Because I don't feel sick. What do I do? Let me try and see what medication. And then you start going through, like, what if people sent you that says this is the medication you should take when you have the virus? My biggest concern at that time was, uh, did because I mean, by the time between you test and you get the result is 3 days, but you don't know before that, when did I have it? So who did I give it to? So my first thing was, I sat there and I thought, okay, who have I had contact with this week that I need to tell? I need to tell them before I tell anybody else. I need to tell them because they need to be the first to know. So I
Mm-hmm.
contacted the people that I saw, that I know I saw, personally saw them in that week. And I messaged them and I said, listen, I just got an SMS. I am positive. Please go into isolation. Please go into quarantine. If you get any symptoms in the next 14 days, get tested. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the first thing. The other thing was figure out whether my family is okay and what we were going to do. So I think between the time I got the SMS and I actually just sort of processed it was probably a few hours, because I think in your head you just, like, you're trying to process. But by that evening I knew that I needed to tell everyone, because my biggest thing that I've been talking about even before I got tested is that I've told people the hardest thing is to let people know, and so that it doesn't become a thing of a stigma,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just a second.
Yeah.
My
And
kid wants something.
no
So I think
problem.
for
Life
me,
of
by
being a
that
mom.
evening, I was like, I promised everybody on my social media that if I got it, I would tell them. And that was what
Mm-hmm.
I knew I needed to do. I wanted to be an example for what I've been saying. So when I took a screenshot of my SMS and I told everyone. And even if I couldn't get hold of people directly, or I couldn't remember who I was in contact with, I was hoping that they would be able to see my social media, see my Instagram, see my Facebook, see my statuses, and then say, Fhemz has COVID. Was I in contact with her? Because then I would have a message saying, were we in contact in that time? And I did have a couple of people that I'd met before that. And they asked me, and I said, no, I didn't. I managed to trace it eventually, but I could tell them that no, it was prior to me getting COVID that we met. But
Mhm.
yeah,
So after sharing that information with the public, how did they react to your announcement?
I think I think you know I think because I had spoken about the fact that there's a real stigma before, I was very like overwhelmed by how many people were just going, I hope you get well soon. So I think
Mhm.
people appreciated it. And I think I had 10 times more private messages saying, thank you for telling us that you have it. Thank you for not keeping it a secret. And I think that it's weird because you can talk about it ad nauseum, but it seems like people still feel like they need to keep the fact that they've become positive a secret. It's like
Mhm.
keeping a flu a secret. It doesn't make sense. It for me, it didn't make sense to keep this a secret because I didn't. I don't feel I did something wrong. I feel maybe Allah sends you what He needs to send you. What is meant for you is going to come to you, and what is not meant for you will, even if it's heading towards you, won't hit you. So I
Mhm.
think that I accepted the fact that maybe this is what Allah meant, that I needed to get this to understand better how the virus is, or maybe it's to use my platform to let people know what it feels like and that this is for real, and that you can have nothing and you can get it. But I think that it's so it's a strange sort of feeling to go, I have coronavirus, when it feels like it's been something people talk about, but
Yeah.
nobody really knows people who get it, and then you become the person who gets it, and you go, whoa. um Personally, I we had a meeting in my family, so we had a little discussion and we decided, like, how would we isolate, how would we do those things, those sort of things. And along with me telling people about it, I had people who offered not just sympathy but advice, and they sent me stuff. I had people sending me immune boosters and what worked for them. And I know that there's a lot of remedies out there, but the first thing I think that's important is to talk to your GP. For me, talking to my doctor was the biggest thing, because then I was told, take this, don't take this. And the other thing is that my doctor knows my history. Like, I know
Mhm.
there's everything out there, and I am taking, I'm taking the home remedies, the black seeds, all of those things, they're all important. But I'm also taking it knowing that I've told my doctor this is what I'm taking, so that she's aware of what's going on, because she knows my medical history. And everybody's medical history is different.
Mhm.
I've been very concerned. I'm pre-diabetic. I have a son who ends up in hospital every year for pneumonia. So it's a very scary virus to think that may hit your family and may affect your family. And we've decided to isolate together. And alhamdulillah, my kids are good. They're jumping around like normal and driving me completely nuts. But they've been okay. So I don't know if I even answered your question properly. I just spoke.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You speak, and then if you do answer it, it's somewhere there. Anyways, when the virus first crept in, everybody was like so completely afraid of it, suggesting that it only affects people who travel or who have traveled, etc., and they might not get the virus. But then you got the virus, and then you proudly shared it with your followers on social media, and you were also very vocal about the stigma and how we need to break the stigma. Somehow it seems like COVID is like the new HIV, such that when somebody has HIV, they're so afraid to share their status because of what and how people will treat them.
You know what? I completely agree with you. it's actually, I think a lot of times people think all my videos is because I've experienced something, but sometimes it's people who've messaged me and said, this is what we are experiencing. And then I'll do a video to talk to people and say, uh, this is how we should not be treating people who have COVID. And it's absolutely that. People have almost treated it like it's HIV, and it's not at all anything like HIV. They have chastised people. They've ostracized people. They phone people and they want to know, where have you been? Who have you touched? What have you done? And I think people have I think it's a mixture of fear and judgment. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
problem, is that when fear comes into it, it's quicker to be able to judge and think it won't happen to me because I live in a bubble or something else. I can tell you, we haven't we when lockdown happened, we were in full on lockdown. And when I
Mm-hmm.
needed to return back to work, I even said, I'm scared to return back to work because the reality is that COVID is all around us. But when
Mm-hmm.
I went back to work, nothing could have told me that I would have gotten it from the person next to me because I was so careful, right? And I think people think that you get it because you're being negligent or you have been irresponsible or you're being naughty. So you're going out there and you're asking for it. You know what I mean? So I think that people don't understand that nobody goes out there looking for it. Yes, maybe some people are irresponsible in their behavior, in where they go, in what they do, but not everybody is. I know, like, if you know with good conscience you haven't done anything silly, irresponsible, all of those things, the reality is you might just get it anyway. You could get it just from a package that arrives at your door if you haven't
Mm-hmm.
sanitized it right or wiped it down right. You can really get it from anywhere. You can get it from groceries. Are you telling me that groceries are bad? They're not. That's what you do, you buy groceries. So I think that a lot of the times what I've been getting back is, where did she go? What did she do? And here's the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing, and this did actually happen to me, was that I got told that if you have it and a friend has it, did the two of you get together secretly when you weren't allowed to, and that's why you both have it? And it's completely ridiculous because first of
Mm-hmm.
all, none of your business. Second of all, second of all, don't make an assumption based on that,
Mm-hmm.
especially after I've already said this is how I've gotten it. What people should be more concerned about is how can I help you that you have it? And if you haven't physically been in contact with anybody who has COVID, and unless you are asking for yourself, as in, was I in contact with you? Then I think that asking the question without a sensitivity is the hard part. And not a lot of people understand that being sensitive is a big part of it. This
Mm-hmm.
virus is scaring the world. So we're not saying you're not scared, so you're not asking out of fear. But I think that if you're going to ask a question, uh, be sensitive about the way you ask a question, about why. Don't say words like, I hope I'm not offending you. If you're being sensitive, say things like, I'm so sorry you feel this way. I'm not sure if we've been in contact. Are you aware if we've been in contact somehow? Or say, is there any way you can share with me how you think you contracted the virus? Because I myself would like to be more careful in future. That is a
Yeah.
better way of asking a question than phoning an auntie and saying, "So how do you think she got it? You think she was meeting up with friends and having coffee?" Like, I think that's the thing. And don't talk to other people about other people. If you really want to
Mm-hmm.
know, I've tried to share as much as I can, but sometimes I feel like people don't people refuse to take things at the value it's given to them because there's not enough juice and meat in that for them to make a story of. And I think
Mm-hmm.
if other people have been irresponsible and then they realize that somebody has COVID at the place where they should not have been visiting, then they get scared and they're trying to figure things out. And I just want to say that I think that you need to be responsible. We also need to be conscious of what we are doing. Um, if I, like just doing this here, I could pass it on to a something I'm touching, a plate, a board, or something, and someone else can touch it, it passes on that quickly when you're in the infectious stage. So I think that we just need to try and be careful. But I want to say this because after I do this, I will wash my hands, sanitize my hands, whatever. It's important that we continue to wash hands, but also that we understand that the virus is passed through sneezing, spitting, through your internal fluids. So if
Mm-hmm.
somebody with COVID has touched a can of beans, all you need to do is wipe down the can of beans. Don't run away from them as if they are the plague. And I think that's the thing. People are starting to feel like if somebody has it, they need to run a mile in the other direction.
Mm-hmm. Stay
And
away from me.
yes, exactly. It's like when somebody gets the flu, you go, you know what I mean? That's
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's fine as a joke. But I think if you get to a point where you ostracize someone because they've had COVID to the point where nobody's going near them, nobody's talking to them, nobody wants to have anything to do with them, nobody wants to touch a piece of paper that they touch, then that's how the stigma grows. And that's how that person talks about their experience to someone else. And then when somebody else goes positive, she goes, I don't want to be ostracized like that one does, so I'm not going to tell anybody. And I
Yeah.
think that's how it starts. The stigma starts from the way we have treated somebody who has COVID. And when that person has gotten treated badly, they tell others because we tend to talk about if we in our closer groups about how badly we've been treated when we get COVID. And
Mm.
then people get scared to talk about COVID because they're being treated so badly. They're being treated like they did something wrong. Like, I can't send dishes to their house. You can wash a dish, wash it with soap and water. If you've touched something that somebody with COVID that somebody has touched and they have COVID, wash your hands. You're not going to get it the second you touch something that somebody has touched. You're not going to get it the second you touch. If I touch something and you touch something, it doesn't mean you're going to get coronavirus. It means that when you're done touching it, go and wash your hands or wipe down that item. And I think that's the difference. People think that things we touch now are contaminated.
Mm-hmm. And it all comes down to doing those simple things like washing your hands as often as possible. Now, we have those people who are thinking that the lockdown is a thing of the past and they can continue going out and having a good time. What advice would you give to them? Because they are part of the problem and they are the reasons why people who stay at home are actually getting the virus.
I think that this comes down to what is the value that you place on your own life and the life of others, the life of your children, the life of the people around you. And I think it's important that this is where your personal responsibility comes into play. It's really not a joke. It's really not necessary to be running around and doing a million things. And yes, okay, we are level three. Lots of us have small businesses, but it comes down to basic moral responsibility. Don't do something that you wouldn't want somebody else to do. So if you are in a home where somebody is COVID and you've tested negative, it doesn't give you the right to run around because you don't know if between the time you've tested negative and the rest of the time that you've gotten it and you could be passing it on. I think that we all feel a sense of loneliness in that we want to see people, we want to meet with people. And I completely understand that we all want to see and meet people. We miss them. We want to just go out and have a get together. And it's hard. But I think we need to think about what is responsible behavior. We miss
Mm.
all the people around us. But responsible behavior is that while this pandemic is on, in order to be able to flatten the curve, let's do stuff that's responsible. And you will not become unpopular by saying no if you don't want to
Mhm.
go to your friend's house because they invited you for supper, and your mother's house or your mother-in-law's house. If you do become unpopular, then that's a maturity thing. They need to understand that the mature decision was to say no because this is a pandemic. The
Mm.
reality is Eid is coming up, and we
Yeah.
all know Eid is when families spend together. But I would say, please, guys, there's Zoom, there's other things, there's WhatsApp calls, there's everything else. There's, even if you really, really, really want to see your family, drive by, wave, drop off a gift, let them wipe down. But please, for the sake of our older people who are being affected by this, our parents especially, we know they want to spend Eid with all of us. But for their own sake, some of us don't know if we're carrying it. I don't know if I'm
Mm-hmm.
carrying it. And I'm grateful that I didn't go near my parents during this time, because who knows if I could have passed it on to them. If I
Mm-hmm.
had just seen them or they had come over, it's easy that if in the last few weeks that they'd come over and and I would have passed it to them, because they miss us so much that they even drive up the driveway just to say hello. So it's normal that parents will miss you. But I think that, especially with this peak really going badly, please just try not to. Do what you need to do. Let your business run, go to work, come home, stay home. Be responsible. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. I mean, if you can make wudu 5 times a day, wash your hands then another 20 times a day. Just keep being really responsible. I know that some people say, ah, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. You know what? It's fine. I'll just what? I'll get through it. And it's just like a flu. It's nothing like a flu. It feels like a flu because you could be asymptomatic and passing it on, but the person you're passing it on to may not react the same way that you do. They may have a whole different set of problems that bring on COVID way worse than other people have it. So I think if we're not going to be responsible for ourselves, be responsible for the people around us and think about what is the value that you place on your own life, the life of your children, the life of your parents.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fhemz, shukran so much for your time. I'm going to leave it there for now. It was lovely chatting to you, and I hope that the people who watched this and those who listened will take this information and will take heed of the advice, share it widely, and
Oh,
also tell others, tell everyone that we should break the stigma, stop being afraid to let
absolutely.
people know
If you get,
to
like,
have
if I
COVID.
can say anything, if you get COVID, if you learn that you're COVID positive, tell everyone. The more we
Mhm.
tell everyone, the easier it is to break the stigma. And when you tell
Exactly.
everyone and you find that someone is, be kind.
Hmm. It's true. I mean, it's not like a scary disease that it's going to affect your skin and you're going to start getting blisters and stuff all over. And the more people know, the better chances it is to treat the virus. Okay, but for now, do have a lovely day, and I wish you a speedy recovery. May Allah grant you complete shifa, and all those who are suffering from the virus and other ailments. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
All right, so that was Fehmida Jordan, also known as Fhemz, talking about living with COVID-19 and breaking the stigma. You know, people think that COVID-19 is a scary disease. Yes, it is scary, but stop stigmatizing people and uh, being discriminatory against them. There's absolutely no need for that. If you do get the virus, then let people know, because at least that will give them a better chance on knowing if and when they came into contact with you, and if and when they've passed it on to somebody else, because that's how we are going to defeat this, and that's how we are going to stop the spread and curb the stop the spread of the virus. So you can leave your comments in the comment section below, and uh, if you have any suggestions, you can also send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0617660355. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our show for today. Do join me again tomorrow, 11 to 1 p.m. right here on Salam Media. For myself, Mara Mukwanda, and the Salam Media team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.